You ever take an exit you swear wasn't there before, and end up somewhere that makes your skin crawl? Yeah, that's where it started for me. And buddy, I've been trying to find my way back ever since. You got a minute? Because I ain't gonna. This one's a little weird. Now I've been driving cross-country hauls for nearly a decade, slept more nights in this cab than in my own bed, lived off gas station coffee, and seen every kind of road America's got to offer. From blizzards in Montana to flat tires in the Arizona desert. Name a nightmare and I've driven through it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, ever screwed with my head like that stretch of road outside Eads, Colorado. Locals call it Route 54. Most maps don't even label it, just a grey vein that pops up when your GPS glitches, or when you're real low on sleep and decide to take a quicker detour. That's what I thought I was doing, saving myself a half hour off my usual run from Denver down to Amarillo. Only this time I didn't end up in Texas. Not really, not anywhere that made sense. It started out normal enough. I had just topped off the tank in Lyman, checked my logbook and hit the road. Smooth sailing. Country radio crackling, sun setting behind me, casting long shadows across the open plain. That kind of drive where the line between road and sky blurs and the world feels quiet, you know. Then around 8:45, just past sunset, I saw a sign that read, Exit 27B, South Service Loop. Didn't remember seeing it on this route before, but hey, maybe I'd just never noticed. It had this big green arrow and one of those brown, scenic byway logos that look real official. And listen, I wasn't even planning on turning off, but something about it, it was like my hand moved on its own. I blinked, and I was already slowing down. Maybe it was the caffeine crash. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe it was that damn feeling I get sometimes, like something wants you to go a certain way. So I took the exit. The ramp curved like normal, a smooth bend down into a patch of empty road, surrounded by flat cornfields. Nothing out of place, not yet. But here's where it got strange. I drove for about 5 minutes, expecting to reconnect with the highway or hit a junction. Instead, the road just looped. I saw another green sign, this one marked Exit 27B, South Service Loop. Same exact sign, same exact placement. Thought maybe I was just having déjà vu. I mean, you drive long enough, roads start to feel like they're repeating anyway. So I passed it again, another 5 minutes, and there it was again. Exit 27B, my stomach dropped. I slowed to a crawl, turned down the radio, rolled down the window, dead silence, no wind, no bugs chirping. Just my tires crunching gravel, and that's when I noticed the sign had changed. Same shape, same colors, but now the words were off. The Exit 27B part was fine, but the rest looked like someone replaced the English with, I don't even know what. Some alien alphabet, curved strokes and backward letters that didn't belong on any road in the US. I stared at it for a good 30 seconds, engine idling. Then I blinked. When I looked again, it was back to English. Let me tell you, I've never turned a rig around faster in my life. I hit reverse, pulled a wide, ugly U-turn, probably tore up some of that gravel, and floored it back the way I came, or at least tried to, because 5 minutes later, guess what I saw? Yup, Exit 27B, South Service Loop. And this time it wasn't just the letters that were wrong. The colors were off too, like someone had messed with the saturation. The green looked almost blue, and the sign's surface shimmered, like it was made of water or heat haze. I blinked, rubbed my eyes. Gone. Back to normal. Now I ain't a paranoid guy. I don't scare easy. But something about this loop, it wasn't right. The road felt too quiet, too perfect. No bumps, no other cars. The sky even. It had this oily sheen to it, like twilight was stuck, frozen in that weird in-between just after sunset, where it's not night but it's no longer day. I turned off my GPS, reset it. Nothing. The whole map was grey, just a loading circle spinning in the corner. I tried calling dispatch, no signal, just static. I kept driving, hoping I'd hit a crossroad, a gas station, anything, but no matter how far I went, the only thing that changed was the sign. Every time I passed it, the writing looked less familiar, like the language was unraveling, like reality was unraveling. I finally stopped, shut off the engine. Sat in the dark with the headlights off, letting my eyes adjust. Told myself I was just tired, hallucinating, maybe micro-sleeping between signs. That made sense, right? But then I heard it from the cornfield. A soft shuffle, like something brushing between the stalks. Then, something else. A click, like an old camera shutter. Followed by this metallic whirring sound, low and steady, rising. Like a machine winding up. That's when I saw the first light, not a star, not a plane. Just a pale, flickering white glow between the stalks, moving like it was pacing. It wasn't fireflies. It wasn't human either. I slammed the truck into gear and peeled out of there. And guess what showed up on the horizon? That same damn exit sign. Only this time it didn't even try to look normal. It was upside down and it was written in red. You ever feel like the world's messing with you on purpose? Like the road isn't just long, it's alive? After the third, or maybe fourth, time I passed that warped exit 27B sign, I stopped counting. Time felt broken. GPS was still blank, just a grayed-out grid. I even pulled out an old-school paper atlas from the glove box. No 27B, no loop, no south service, anything. Worse, my fuel gauge hadn't moved. I'd been driving for what had to be at least an hour, revving hard, trying to escape whatever this was, and I was still at 3/4 of a tank. Normally I'd be grateful, but when physics stops working, panic sets in real fast, so I did the only thing I could. I kept going. Now here's the thing. The road itself wasn't changing. Same cracked asphalt, same two perfect white lines, same cornfields with stalks just a little too tall for this time of year. No exits, no turns, just that damn sign every 10 minutes, or however long it was. Time wasn't ticking right either, but the signs, no, those signs, they got weirder. The fifth time around, the sign was written in something that didn't even look like writing, more like scratches, claw marks, maybe even teeth. Like someone, or something, had bitten it into the metal. Still said 27B in English, but the rest, just slashes and curves like ritual carvings. I stopped the truck again, got out this time. Not smart, I know. I walked over to the sign with a flashlight and gave it a once-over. It wasn't just scratched. It was embedded into the surface, like the letters had grown there. Not painted, not stuck on. The metal bled rust where the marks were deepest, I swear to you. When I touched it, it was warm. I jerked my hand back and heard a rustle in the corn behind me. Sharp, not wind. Too heavy. I spun, flashlight beam swinging. Nothing, just rows and rows of unmoving stalks. But I felt something watching, not from the distance, close, like inches behind the next row, breathing slow, patient. I didn't wait to find out what it was. Ran back to the cab, locked the doors. Peeled off into the dark. That's when the sky changed. Up to that point it had stayed at that weird perpetual twilight, but now it was darker, like someone had shut off the stars. No moon, no clouds, just black. Except one thing, a faint, glowing spiral. I know that sounds nuts, but I looked up through the windshield, and there it was. This barely visible pattern, like smoke or fog swirling in a circle, high above the road. Not moving like a storm, just turning, slowly, constantly. And when I looked down, so was the road. I turned the steering wheel slightly to the left to stay straight, and the truck obeyed. But the road ahead curved, gently, too gently to notice unless you were really paying attention. But I was paying attention now. The route was bending, not physically, spatially. I was on a rotating loop, somewhere around the next signpost, if we're still counting. I started seeing things in the cornfield, or more like between the stalks. Shapes, not animals, not people, tall, thin, crooked. I'd catch them in the corner of my eye, then they'd vanish. But they were following. I don't know how, but I knew it. Every turn of the loop, they were getting closer to the road, closer to me. And then one of them stepped out, not all the way, just one long leg, pale as paper, slid an inch past the first row, just enough for me to know it was there. No face, no sound, but the message was loud and clear. I wasn't alone. I never had been. At this point, I was done playing. I slammed my fist into the dashboard and screamed, "Where the hell is the exit?" My headlights flared, brighter than normal, too bright. And then, there it was. Not the 27B sign. A different one. Exit. Just that. No numbers. No name. Just black block letters on a glowing whiteboard. I took it without thinking. I shouldn't have. The ramp dropped hard, like a roller coaster. My stomach flipped. The headlights struggled to keep up as the road dove downward into pure darkness. No cornfields. No stars. Just a tunnel. Dirt walls pressing in close. Wet. Breathing. And the signs didn't stop. Only now they weren't on poles. They were written on the tunnel walls. Over and over in that strange language, glowing faintly, burning, into my retinas. They pulsed like veins, synced to something I didn't want to meet. And then up ahead I saw it. A mirror. No, not a mirror. A windshield. And behind it me, screaming, wide-eyed, driving a truck that looked just like mine, barreling right toward. Me, there's panic, and then there's this. I was staring down the barrel of my own rig. Same model, same cab, same goddamn dent in the grill from when I hit a deer in Nebraska last spring, barreling right toward me in that tight underground tunnel, our headlights slicing through the dark like twin spotlights about to collide. And, behind the wheel, me only wrong. He looked like me. Same face, same scruff, same trucker cap tilted back on his forehead. But his eyes were dead. Not wide with terror like mine, not confused, just blank. Like someone was inside pulling the strings from somewhere else. I had seconds, maybe less. Instinct kicked in. I jerked the wheel and slammed the brakes. Tires screamed, rubber scorched. My trailer jackknifed against the tunnel wall, sparks showering in the dark. That other me? Didn't flinch. He just kept coming, straight on. Like he wanted the crash, like he needed it. At the last second his truck veered through mine, like fog through glass. Not around, not beside, through. The second it passed, everything went quiet. The engine stalled. Headlights flickered out. No more tunnel, no more road, just pitch-black silence, and me sitting in a dead truck, heart pounding so loud I thought it might echo off the walls. But there weren't any walls anymore. I stepped. Out, I wasn't in the tunnel, I wasn't on the highway, I was nowhere. Picture this. Just a flat, endless blacktop stretching in both directions. No sky, no horizon, no stars. It felt like standing in a parking lot at the end of the world, with no buildings, no light poles, not even a single sound. Until the horn blew. Mine I whipped around. About 50 yards back, another version of my truck idled, just sitting there, door open, cab light flickering, no driver in sight. I didn't want to approach, but I couldn't stop myself. As I stepped closer, I realized something awful. The interior was smeared with black grime. Not dirt, not oil. Something thicker, like tar that bled. It dripped from the ceiling, pooled in the footwell, and on the driver's seat, carved right into the leather, were the words, "You left me." I staggered back, breath catching in my throat. That's when I heard the footsteps. Behind me, quick, wet, slapping on pavement. I spun, nothing there. Then I turned back toward the truck, and the cab was closed, lights off, engine silent. That's when it hit me. This road, this place, wasn't empty, and I wasn't the first version of me to come through. I was just the latest. Somewhere, somehow, my past selves had driven the same loop. Made the same choices, took the same wrong turn, and the road remembered each one. They were still here, and one of them didn't like that I was trying to leave. Back in my own truck, I started her up. Somehow the engine roared back to life. And peeled out. I drove harder than I ever had, pedal nearly to the floor, and in the side mirrors I saw the other trucks, not just one now. 3. One with a smashed windshield, one dragging something behind it, one with headlights blinking in Morse. Code. I don't know what it was trying to say. I just knew I couldn't let them catch me. Around the next bend, because yes, the road bent again, I saw the signs. 6 of them in a row, like billboards, each with a different version of me staring back, some bloodied. Some smiling, one with no face at all. Underneath each was a word, You are. Already. Here. Don't. Leave. And that's when the CB radio, silent for hours, crackled to life. A voice, raspy, tired, identical to mine. They're not roads, they're routes, and we're just rot. Static.gone, I must have blacked out at the wheel, or maybe the road did it for me, switched itself again without warning. Because 1 second I was gunning it through that endless loop, redlining down a stretch of blacktop that looked the same in every direction, and the next, I was staring at a split, an honest-to-God fork in the road. 2 exits, neither marked. No signs, no arrows, no mileage numbers. Just 2 lanes peeling off in opposite directions, like someone took a scalpel to the world and cut a clean V straight through it. I hit the brakes hard, sat there idling, engine ticking, both routes stretching, out like veins under dead skin. The weird part, they didn't look the same. They didn't even look real. The left road looked old, abandoned, asphalt cracked with grass poking through, faded yellow lines, the kind of path that hasn't seen a tire in 20 years. The sky above it? Orange. Like dusk frozen in place, still silent. The right road clean, new, too new. Like it had just been laid down by something that didn't understand how roads are supposed to look. No lines, no signs, no shoulders. Just gray, perfect gray, stretching endlessly under a sky that wasn't any color I'd ever seen. Sort of a slick wet silver, and I swear I could hear whispering coming from both sides. I reached for the radio again. Anyone out there? Hello? This is driver 87. I'm en route. Hell, I don't know what I'm on anymore, if someone's hearing. This, I need guidance. I need a sign. Static. Then a voice. Soft, dry, barely there. The fork wasn't for you. Then gone. So now I'm sitting in the cab, staring down 2 choices that aren't mine to make, and feeling like every second I wait, something is deciding for me. I check the mirrors. There's movement behind me. One of the other trucks is back. It's idling just far enough in the dark that I can't see the cab, just the outline of the rig and the steady glow of its headlights, one of which is broken, flickering like a dying eye. I don't wait to find out if it moves. I take the left. It feels like the road is relieved. The wheels thump over cracked pavement. Dust rises like ash behind me, and for the first time in what feels like hours or days, I hear something natural. Crickets, wind, the creak of an old tree leaning too far over the shoulder. The silence breaks, but not in a good way. About a mile in, I spot it. An old roadside diner, lights off, sign busted, windows boarded. Like it had been abandoned since the 60s, the kind of place that shouldn't still be standing but is, and someone's standing on the roof. At first it's just a silhouette, arms at its sides, long coat fluttering in the wind that I can't feel. Then it lifts an arm and points, not at the diner, not at the road, at me. I don't stop. I blow past the place doing 70. But something changes after that. The air starts feeling thicker, harder to breathe, and the radio, it kicks back on. But now it's just one word, over and over, looping in a voice that's halfway between mine and something else. Choose, 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 choose. And then, just as suddenly, the left road meets back with the right. They didn't fork at all, not really. They were just loops within loops, roots of something deeper, more ancient. I didn't choose a path. I chose a delay. And the voice knew. You chose wrong. Ahead of me now, a massive rusted archway stretching over the road. There's no sky beyond it, no horizon. Just black. But something about it feels final, like this road ends or begins right there. And I swear to you, as I cross under it, I see all the signs I passed before. Every version. English, foreign, symbols, scratches, all welded to the arch. Like ribs, and the last one, it just says no exit. I didn't notice it right away. The mind's good at filling in blanks when it's desperate, and mine was scraping bottom. All I knew was I'd passed through that rusted arch, into what looked like a void, and somehow Dew kept driving. The headlights barely reached 10 feet ahead now, everything beyond them just swallowed light. No stars, no sky, just road and silence, except... Not quite. It started as a shift in the cab, a creak I didn't remember. You know your truck after a few 100,000 miles and every rattle, every hum. This one was new, like weight settling into the passenger seat. I told myself it was the suspension. Then I glanced sideways and saw a shape, just faint, in the edge of the window's reflection, like a silhouette sitting beside me, head tilted, watching. I snapped my head toward the seat. Empty, or it looked empty. Get it together, I muttered. I turned the radio back on. Static. No stations. No voices. Just the click of the CB flicking back to life on its own. Another creak. Right seat. Then I heard it. Not a voice. Not exactly. It was breathing. Long, steady. Too steady. Not tired. Not human. Just a rhythm, like machinery pretending to be alive. I kept my eyes locked on the road. Told myself if I didn't look, it wouldn't become real. But the mirror betrayed. Me, you know, that little convex one above the passenger side? Yeah, it showed the seat, and the thing in it. I only caught a flash. Long limbs, folded wrong. A face where the features didn't line up. Not blurred, just misplaced. Like someone tried to remember what a human looked like and almost got it right. Its mouth didn't move, but the radio did. You brought me in. My throat closed up, hands locked on the wheel. I whispered, "What are you?" The thing didn't answer. The radio did. You opened the road. You let me ride. I jerked the wheel, nearly drove off whatever shoulder existed in that blank space. The lights ahead started to flicker. The lines on the road began to pulse, glowing faintly, veins under skin. The road wasn't made of asphalt anymore. It was something alive. The thing in the seat didn't move, but I could feel it, not just physically, mentally, like it was folding itself around my thoughts, whispering without sound, trying on my memories like clothes. I remember your mother's funeral, the rain, the gas station lilies. Your hand shook when you drove back. I stared ahead, breath caught in my chest. I remember your first dog, the brown one. You let it die. I slammed the brakes. The rig skidded. Tires screamed. I pulled. To a full stop in the middle of that black void, I turned. This time I looked. Nothing there, empty seat. But on the dashboard, scrawled in condensation, "I'm not leaving." I wiped it away with the back of my sleeve. Sat there, engine ticking, hands numb. The air in the cab felt colder now. Not like AC, not like weather, like the absence of something warm. Like a room after the heat's been gone too long, and something else moved in. I put it in drive again. What else could I do? But from that point on, I didn't ride alone. Not really. Sometimes I'd see a reflection in the glass that didn't match my movements. Sometimes the shadows from my dash lights stretched the wrong way, and sometimes when I tried to hum to myself just to keep sane. Another voice joined in, slightly behind the beat, slightly off-key. Somewhere down that road another sign appeared, not hanging, not posted, just etched into the pavement, glowing red, next turn, final version, and under that, passengers. Only. I should have stopped when I saw that sign. Next turn, final version, passengers only, but I didn't. I kept driving, even though the cab had gone ice cold. Even though the thing that wasn't quite me was still watching from the passenger seat, in flashes, in mirrors, in reflections on the glass. Even though the lines on the road were glowing red now, not white. Even though the world had gone completely silent. You ever hear silence so deep it hums, like the whole world's holding its breath? That's what it felt like. A stillness just before something breaks. Then the road dipped. Not a hill, not a slope, a drop. Like I'd driven off the edge of a forgotten cliff, and gravity remembered me just in time. The sky above, or what passed for it, swirled into that familiar spiral. Same one I saw back in Chapter 2. Turning, always turning. But now it wasn't just above me, it was below me too. Like I was driving down the center of a cosmic whirlpool, reality circling the drain. The truck shuddered. Dashboard lights flickered. And then, the steering wheel turned on its own. Hard left. I fought it. White-knuckled grip. Muscles straining. It was like wrestling a bear. And then the thing in the passenger seat whispered, "Let go." I didn't. So it did something worse. It leaned in. I felt the pressure. Not just heat, not just air. Presence. Then a hand, or something pretending to be one, pressed against the side of my face. I turned, and there I was. Only this version of me. His face was backward, eyes where ears should have been, mouth smiling from the side of the neck, all twisted around like someone spun it wrong. It was me. Reversed, I screamed. Fishtailed, and the road changed again. Suddenly, I was going uphill, steep, impossible incline, engine screaming. But everything in the mirrors was going downhill, like the whole truck was moving forward and backward at once, and the mileage counter, it was counting down, mile by mile, second by second. I wasn't getting away, I was going back. Back to the loop, back to the moment I turned onto exit 27B. Only this time. The signs were already in the alien script. I passed myself and the version of me from Chapter 1 confused, looking at the blank GPS. He didn't see me, he didn't hear the horn I laid on, just kept driving, straight into the trap. That's when it hit me. Wasn't trying to escape the road. I was becoming part of it. Like every version of me before, like the ones I passed in the mirrors, or saw in the diner reflection, or heard over the CB. The road doesn't loop for the fun of it. It remembers each turn, each choice, each fear. It eats them and then it plays them back, like songs on a broken cassette, in reverse. The passenger leaned in again. Its voice was in my head this time, not the radio, not my ears, inside. "Stop driving, let me take the wheel." I shook my head, and it laughed. That horrible inside-out laugh that echoed around the cab like it belonged to the metal itself. Then I saw it up ahead, another arch. But this one wasn't rusted, it was made of mirrors, twisted, bent glass reflecting every version of me. Laughing, crying, screaming, asleep at the wheel, rotting behind it. One on fire, one buried in frost, and right at the center. One version who looked at peace, smiling, calm, hands off the wheel. "Let go," the passenger said again. This time, it sounded like me. Like the version of me from the mirror arch. I reached for the shifter, pushed it into neutral, and for the first time, I stopped fighting. The truck coasted. No power, no steering, just gliding, toward the arch, toward the end, or maybe the beginning. The truck coasted into the arch like it was being pulled, not driven, not steered, drawn. Every mirror in the arch rippled as I passed beneath like glass made of water. But colder. Too cold. Frost crawled up the inside of the windshield. My breath fogged instantly, and in every inch of glass around me, I saw myself, except none of them were blinking. None of them were moving. None of them looked human anymore. Then the world flipped. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally. Up became down. The truck didn't fall, but I felt gravity twist sideways like someone had cranked the world 90 degrees. My stomach lurched, my brain spun, my body stayed frozen, and then the cab shimmered, the dashboard warped, the gear shift stretched. My hands, still on the wheel, looked translucent, like reflections of themselves. I looked to the passenger seat, empty. Finally, but I didn't feel alone. Outside the windshield, the road was still there. But not our road. This one. It was made of mirror, glass stretching to infinity, reflecting the black sky above, the truck itself, the versions of me within it. Every move echoed in the surface beneath me. And each reflection lagged, like it wasn't a mirror at all, like it was a window into a slower, more broken world. And the me looking back. He wasn't driving anymore. He was clawing at the glass. I screamed, hit the brakes. The truck didn't stop, it glided effortlessly forward, toward a horizon that didn't exist. And then the glass cracked. Not from the road, from the sky. A single shatter line ran across the heavens like a bolt of lightning. The whole dome of reality above began to fracture, spiderwebbing with a high-pitched whine like breaking ice. I gripped the wheel harder, but my hands felt like they were slipping, like I couldn't hold on to the idea of myself anymore. That's when the reflections started talking, one by one, in perfect sync, from every pane of the mirrored world. My voice echoed back at me. "Why didn't you stop? Why did you take this road? Why did you leave them? Why are you still running?" I shouted. "Shut up, I didn't choose this." But the reflections laughed, dry, bitter, broken. Then one stepped out. It didn't climb from the glass. It just separated from it. A copy of me. Same clothes, same trucker hat, same everything. But with black eyes and a mouth that didn't close. It just grinned. Too wide, too hungry. Another stepped out beside it, then another. They surrounded the truck, walking in sync. Slow, purposeful, like vultures circling the last warm thing in a frozen world. I put the truck in reverse. The gear shift. Didn't move. Nothing did. Even the engine was silent now, and inside the cab, the passenger seat creaked. I turned, slowly, and there I was again, the smiling version. Sitting there. This time he did speak, with my voice and something beneath. You broke the road. You looked too deep. This isn't a route. It's a mirror maze of every version of you that couldn't leave. And now, we've come home. Then the windshield shattered, not from impact. From inside, a blast of cold air hit. Me square in the chest. I gasped, slamming back into the seat, and suddenly it wasn't a truck anymore. It was a room, a glass box, no doors, no controls, just walls made of mirrors, and in each one, me, each version, each failure, each wrong turn, all staring, all smiling, all waiting. They began pressing in. The box shrank, or maybe I grew smaller. The reflections whispered like wind in a dead forest. Choose the one who gets to leave. One version, one truth, one survivor. And I realized, this wasn't the end of the road, this was the trial. You'd think standing in a room full of yourself wouldn't be so terrifying. But let me tell you something, nothing unsettles you like meeting a version of yourself that smiles the way you've never smiled. Too calm, too cold, like he already knows how this ends. And you don't. That's what I was looking at, dozens of them. Some just watched, some scratched at the mirror walls, leaving deep gouges like they'd been there longer than I had. Some were muttering things I couldn't hear, lips moving fast, frantic, like they were still trying to warn me. And 3 of them stepped forward. The first one? He looked clean, fresh, like a version of me who turned back when the road first glitched, didn't take the exit, didn't follow the signs. He had regret in his eyes, and something like hope. The second, wrecked, burned. His face was melted on one side, like he'd been in a crash. His boots were fused to what looked like asphalt, and when he opened his mouth, I swear I heard sirens. The third, he was already smiling, wide, too wide, like he'd never left the loop at all, just played it better than the rest of us. The mirrors around us began to pulse, faint red glow, like veins beneath a translucent skin. The smiling one stepped forward and said in my voice, "It's a vote, they'll choose." I shook my head. "Choose for what?" He grinned even bigger. "Who gets to drive again?" The mirrors reflected every moment I wanted to forget. The argument with my dad I never apologized for, the night I left her on the porch and drove away, the truck stop where I said I'd call and didn't, the deer, the kid on the shoulder I didn't stop for, and worse, the things I forgot I did. They all played in the glass like old security footage from a life I didn't want to admit was mine. Then the voice came again, not from a person, from the road itself, humming through. The mirrors like it was woven into the world. One version leaves, choose or be chosen. I turned to the clean version of me, the one who never took the turn. His eyes pleaded. I looked at the broken one, scarred and scorched, but somehow realer than I ever felt. Then, to the smiling one, he just opened the cab door and said, "I already made peace. You're just catching up." Suddenly, glass cracked behind each of us. The countdown had begun, a timer I couldn't see, only feel. Panic clawed at my chest. "If I choose wrong," I whispered, "do I disappear?" The road answered through the cracks, "No. You stay. We all stay. Until the road is full." I looked at myself and I made the choice. I turned toward the broken version, the one who'd suffered, the one who still stood tall. "I'm not clean," I said, "but I'm still fighting." He nodded once, didn't smile, didn't thank me, just stepped forward, into the space where the real road waited, the one that wasn't illusion or memory. The smiling version? He just laughed, as the glass folded inward and crushed him into nothing. The clean version tried to scream, but it came out as static, like a tape unspooling too fast to make sense, and then I was alone. Back in my cab, one hand on the wheel, radio crackling, mirrors clear. The road, for the first time, still. I looked ahead. The sign said, "You have been selected," and under it, "Drive wisely." At first, I thought I'd made it out. I really did. There was sun again, not bright, more like the glow behind a dying bulb, but it was light and it didn't flicker. No sky spiral, no reversed signs, just a long, quiet highway stretching in front of me like the world forgot to end. The mirrors were clean, no more ghostly doubles, no whispers. And the radio? Dead silent. It was almost enough to feel like relief. Until I saw the first sign. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in any language I could place, not Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin. I'd been hauling cross-country for a decade and seen signs in every dialect, stamped across freight depots and roadside gas stations. But this was different. The shapes weren't letters. They were geometric, angular, precise, and somehow shifting, like the words were made of parts that rotated when I wasn't looking. I stared at it too long, and my nose started to bleed. I passed another and another, each one taller than the last. Like they were watching instead of directing. One of them had what looked like a silhouette. Not a stick figure, not a person, something with too many joints, too many limbs, and a head shaped like a wheel. I wanted to turn around. I did. But the wheel wouldn't let me, literally. The truck kept going forward, steering on its own, gentle. Like a hand was guiding me through a hallway I couldn't exit. I checked the GPS out of habit. Still nothing, just a red triangle pulsing over grey emptiness. Like the system didn't even recognize where I was anymore. The pavement changed too. No. More lane dividers, no shoulders. Just one long smooth band of black, like I was driving on obsidian. I couldn't hear the tires anymore, couldn't feel the rumble under me. It was like I was floating, and the sky started to dim, not from nightfall, but from something overhead, moving. I rolled the window down to look up. Bad move, because up there was a sign, hanging in the sky like a banner across a cathedral, same script. But this time, I understood it, not in my brain. Not in a language. I felt it in my spine, in my teeth, in my blood, and it said all versions return, all errors are recalled, all routes rotate. That's when I knew. I wasn't going forward anymore. I was driving toward the core of this thing, the place where the road was born or made, or maybe dreamed up by something that doesn't see time like we do. And if all versions return, that meant the others weren't gone. Not the scorched one, not the smiling one, not the versions still clawing inside the glass of those mirror boxes, and somewhere ahead, I'd meet them all again. Another sign rolled into view. This one was bigger than the truck, carved into black stone like a monolith, fallen across the road, and etched in searing white. The symbols pulsed in time with the truck's engine. This one didn't need a translation. I knew what it meant. It meant I was approaching the end, not death. Something worse, the point of restarting, and, in the rearview mirror, something moved, not behind the truck as inside the reflection, that twisted version of me with the smile. Back again, closer this time, not in the passenger seat, right behind me, grinning, waiting. I didn't speak, didn't scream, just stared ahead and waited for the final sign. I didn't stop driving. The road had me in its grip. The signs, the symbols, all of it was getting clearer, sharper, more real the longer I stayed on this cursed route. I didn't need to read them anymore, didn't need to understand the twisted geometry of the markings. They were memories now, written into the blood of this road, something older than anything I had known, and something more hungry. The truck hummed under me like it was alive. It was too quiet, too smooth. There was no wind, no sound of tires on the road, just an eerie silence that crept up my spine, curling around me like a suffocating fog. The signs still followed me, one after another. They loomed like twisted reflections of some ancient forgotten language, symbols that had no meaning, but still managed to make my chest tighten. My heart would skip a beat, then double time as I passed them, my eyes flicking to them out of some compulsion I couldn't control. All versions return. The road is the route. One will rise, one will fall. The messages weren't subtle, but none of them prepared me for the last one. It stood in front of me, a giant obelisk in the middle of the road, seemingly appearing from nowhere. The symbols on it weren't just unfamiliar, they were alien, stretching in ways that defied the geometry of human logic. They pulsed in a strange rhythm, like a heartbeat, a pulse that didn't belong to any living thing I knew. The message was clear, and it was final. The origin is a lie. Rot reigns. I slammed the brakes. But the truck didn't stop. The wheel turned itself, and the truck veered toward the monolith as if guided by unseen hands. My eyes locked on the words, and the world around me started to twist. The ground beneath the truck cracked, not the road, not the asphalt, the earth itself. The road split open like a gaping mouth, and beneath it I saw the blackness, something deeper than I could comprehend, something that pulled the truck into it with unnatural force. I couldn't escape. The lights flickered, the truck's lights, but everything outside was just a void, a crushing darkness closing in. And then a voice, not from the radio, not from the signs, not from anywhere, it was the road itself. You are not meant to drive. You never were. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. I could feel it then. Something darker, something that had been there since I first turned onto this cursed stretch of highway. The road had a purpose, a mind of its own, a hunger, and I had fed it with every turn I made, every choice I thought was mine. But it was never my choice. I grabbed the wheel and tried to fight, tried to pull away from the edge where the road was, splitting open, but it was futile. The truck jerked and lurched like a beast gnashing its teeth. The mirrors exploded into shards, and the windshield cracked in jagged patterns. The road beneath me no longer felt like asphalt. It felt like flesh, warm and writhing, stretching like a living thing. My body shook. My skin crawled. And that's when I saw it. The road wasn't a road at all, it was a creature, a vast organic system sprawling across the land, feeding off the souls of anyone foolish enough to drive it. It wasn't a stretch of asphalt laid down by humans. It was alive, and I was its next meal. The lines, the exits, the signs, they weren't guides. They were part of its feeding ritual, its way of pulling in those who got too close, those who couldn't resist the endless driving, the endless loop. I screamed, but the sound of my voice was swallowed by the deep rumble that filled the air. I couldn't breathe. The walls of the truck felt like they were closing in, not with metal, but with skin, wet, slithering skin that pulsed beneath me. I slammed the brakes again, and the truck bucked, trying to free itself, but nothing stopped. I was already inside the creature. The road didn't lead anywhere. It consumed. It consumed everything that entered its grasp, and I was no exception. I closed my eyes, hands still gripping the wheel, still trying to steer, but deep down I knew this was the end, and that's when the final sign appeared, not in front of me, not behind me, but in my mind. The message was clear. I was not the driver. I was the fuel. Don't know how long I was driving. It could have been hours, maybe days. The sun had long stopped hanging overhead. The world had gone black, save for the eerie red glow that pulsed from the heart of the road. The same twisted, glowing veins I had seen in the mirrors, the same pull I couldn't ignore. I didn't even feel my hands on the wheel anymore. The truck. It wasn't even mine anymore. It was a part of the creature, a symbiotic link in the endless hunger that had been waiting for me. It was feeding time, and I was the meal. The road shifted under me, writhing like a living thing. I could feel it moving beneath the truck, the hum of the engine vibrating in unison with the thrumming pulse of the pavement, the slick hot stretch of black beneath the tires. I could smell it too, rotting, a thick sour scent that filled the cab. It tasted metallic, like blood, like old iron. The steering wheel burned in my hands. No, 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 no. I slammed the brakes, but the truck didn't stop. It couldn't stop. The wheel jerked violently, pulling itself toward the center of the road, toward something that had been waiting for me from the moment I took that first exit. There was no going back. I stared out the windshield. The signs were gone, the exit signs, the symbols, all replaced by one thing: a gate. It wasn't like any gate I had ever seen. It didn't have bars, didn't have a lock. It was an immense archway of twisted roots, gnarled trees and flesh, all tangled together in a grotesque pattern that made my stomach turn. There was something alive in it, a presence so strong that it nearly made my ears ring. The truck didn't stop. It couldn't stop. It sank into the archway, and the moment we crossed through the threshold, the world changed. The sky vanished, replaced by a sea of black. The ground beneath me was no longer asphalt, no longer road. It was alive, a deep, dark soil that sucked at the tires, pulling the truck deeper into its stomach. The windows fogged, the lights dimmed, and then the sound. A low, growling hum that rose from deep within the earth, vibrating through every inch of the truck. It wasn't an engine, it wasn't even a noise, it was something else, something ancient. I pressed my foot harder on the brake, but the truck moved forward as if it was a living entity, and in the distance, I saw shapes. At first, I thought they were shadows, figures in the fog, but as the truck inched closer, the truth became clear. They were people, dead people, hundreds of them, hundreds of me, versions of me, different versions, different faces, different lives, all of them staring blankly at the truck, waiting. It was then that I understood. The road wasn't just feeding on the lives of those who drove it. It was feeding on time, every exit, every loop, every wrong turn. It was a system, a cycle, and the road fed off the choices I made, every regret, every missed turn, every moment I should have gone left but chose right. The road was a living parasite, and it had fed on every part of me. Every mistake, every moment of weakness had been absorbed into it. The road was the rot, and I was no different from the other souls, just another version of someone who had passed through it. The fog thickened, and the truck came to a screeching halt, its engine whining in protest. The shadows closed in. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. The road had already chosen, and it had chosen me. The air thickened, and in a moment of clarity I realized what I had to do. The truck was my prison. The road was the thing feeding on me, and it wouldn't stop until it had taken everything. Every part of me, every drop of my essence, every version. I took one last look in the rearview mirror. It wasn't just my face anymore. The faces of all my other selves stared back at me, those who'd been swallowed by the road long before me. The clean one, the broken one, the smiling one. They all merged into one face, a horrible reflection of what I had become. The road wasn't just a highway. It was a graveyard, a place where all the versions of me, all the choices I'd made, were buried. And I was the last, the final offering. I stepped out of the truck, my legs weak, but there was no turning back. The air was thick with rot. The ground beneath my feet was soft and slick like it was pulsing, and I knew there was no escaping it. There was no way to leave. I was the last to fall, the final one to be swallowed by the road. But before I stepped into the dark, one last thought crossed my mind. There was no end. The road would always rotate. It would always feed. And in time, the road would call someone else. There was no moment of clarity, no sudden flash of light. It was just the knowing. I stood there, frozen in the middle of that dark, damp ground, staring at the road that had devoured me. My body felt cold, heavy, but it wasn't like anything I had felt before. There was no weight to it. I was weightless. The fog swallowed me, and the last traces of the truck vanished into the mist. The sky above me stretched infinitely, but it wasn't the sky I had known. There were no stars, no horizon, just darkness. I took a step forward, and something in the air changed. It wasn't the ground beneath my feet, it wasn't the air around me. It was the pulse of the road beneath me, inside me. I could feel it now, like it was in my veins, like it was part of my blood, pulling me deeper into itself. The road wasn't a highway anymore, it was a giant maw. I had been swallowed. The shapes I had seen earlier, the The faces, the bodies of the others, they were everywhere now. Not in front of me, not behind me, but inside me, inside my mind, versions of me. Other travelers who had fallen into the same cycle, the same road, the same loop. The truth was undeniable. This wasn't just a road. This wasn't just a route. This was the end for me. And now I was a part of it. I couldn't scream, I couldn't run. The road had already claimed me. I could feel its hunger deep inside. It wasn't over. The loop would never end. The road would keep rotating, keep feeding, keep pulling new souls in forever. I had become the road. The path I had been driving on for so long, the one that twisted and turned and never led anywhere, it was now a part of me. It would always be a part of me. But now, I was the one. I took another step. And there it was, a car. Not a truck. Not mine, but the next one. The headlights were faint at first, but they grew brighter as the vehicle came closer. I couldn't make out the driver's face, but I knew, I could feel it. They were coming. Another soul, another traveler, another person who would make the same choice I had, who would take the same road, the same route. They would drive through believing they could make it to the end. They would be drawn to the glowing signs, the empty road, just like I was, and they would drive right into the mouth of this hungry beast. The truck came closer. I could hear the engine roar, but I wasn't scared anymore. I was the road, and I was calling to them, just like the road had called to me. The road's hunger was eternal, its thirst never quenched. It didn't matter how many versions it devoured. It didn't matter who they were, where they were from, or what they were driving. It would always take more. As the truck got closer, I could see the driver, a man no older than I had been. He looked tired, eyes darting between the signs that flashed in his headlights. He couldn't see me. He didn't know. But I knew him. He was me. The same way I had been, the same way everyone before me had been. And I smiled. The truck drove through. It drove through the road, and as I felt the presence of the new driver pass through, I knew he would never leave. He would become part of it, just like I had. And once he passed through the loop, once he was swallowed, the road would feed again. It would go on. I felt the pulse one last time, and this time I didn't feel alone. There were others, versions of me and versions of them, all part of the road now, and we were all waiting for the next one.